Imagine effortlessly swinging driver, hitting longer and more powerful controlled tee shots, just like we see all the tour players do. Well, there's one thing that they do so often that allows them to generate this powerful golf swing, yet look so effortless. And the trouble is, we see so many golfers down here when I'm coaching that are practicing certain movements, certain techniques that are stopping them, hindering them from getting power into their golf swing, especially when it comes to using the driver. And that stops them from hitting the golf ball as far as they should. Now, if you think this is you, whether you're losing distance at the moment or you think you should be hitting the ball further, I'd recommend sticking around till the very end of the video, because what I'm about to show you is a simple and effective move that all the tour players do, that anyone can copy. It's to hit the driver more consistently, but also hitting way more powerful tee shots. Now, if you are new to the channel, thanks for tuning in. I'm Harry, a golf teacher professional, posting content just like this every single week to help you lower your scores. So consider clicking that subscribe button if you do find these tips and drills useful for your own golf game. And to everyone watching, thanks for tuning back into this video in particular, as I'm delighted to announce the new partners of the channel, SATORI Golf, a premium golf clothing brand who asked me to come on board to be a part owner in the company. I was delighted to accept this, and I have to say, the fit and the quality of the material is very good. So if you'd like to perform with style this season, you can use my discount code below, Harry10, to get yourself 10% off their clothing. Now, the move I want to discuss in this video is all to do with how the tour players in particular start their golf swings using the driver. So if we were just to take a look at a video of Rory here, when we take a look at Rory's swing in particular, what do you notice as soon as he takes the driver back, as soon as he starts this golf swing? What we can see here, quite interestingly, is that he forms a little bit of this shift, this pressure shift, moving into the trail side of the body very quickly, just before pretty much he takes the club back. Now, what this allows him to do is almost do a preset. So a preset into the backswing, getting this pressure to form this way, to then make a way up to the top of the golf swing. Now, what are a lot of the tendencies that we see a lot of golfers making? Well, what golfers usually do when they make the way into the top of the golf swing is they believe they need to make sure they're keeping their eye on the golf ball. They need to make sure they're keeping their head down. The problem with this, it stops them from naturally rotating. It keeps their weight and pressure onto this side, and as we can see here, we almost look like we get into this position here where the hips start to sway this way to make sure that our head stays over the golf ball. And that is their method or technique that gets them swinging up to the top of the golf swing. Not great for power and also not great for consistency. The tour players like Rory McIlroy that we've just seen there, they'll always preset just to ensure they are transferring this weight to start off with onto this trail side of the body here. So it's a little bit of a preset pressure, adding this pressure into the ground. And when I'm doing this here, it almost feels like I'm adding my pressure working into the toes, the balls of my feet to the toes to start off with, before we then wind upwards into the top of the golf swing. Now, to perform this movement correctly, it requires you to do three simple things. The first one is getting this movement, this little bit of a lateral shift that we notice the tour players do. So we'll start off with that one as step number one, getting this pressure shift into this trail side. So what I want you to do just to begin with is take the club away and just have your hands placed either side of your thighs and set up into your driver posture and setup position. And all you're going to do to begin this movement is just allow a little bit of pressure to go onto this trail side here. Now, what we notice here is it'll feel like to you that you're actually shifting or swaying off the golf ball. Don't worry, that's going to start to neutralize things as we begin to add in step 2 and step 3. But this part here is just ensuring that we're adding the pressure moving just to initiate this backswing into this trail side here. As soon as we start to go on this side, as I mentioned earlier, it's no good. So adding this pressure, and we can see there, there's ever so slight bit of knee movement where all I'm thinking about is adding the pressure into the trail. My trail knee is beginning to flex more as my lead knee begins to extend a little bit. This is natural just because of the way we are built as humans, but all I'm doing here is just really trying to feel that pressure ever so slightly moving into the trail side. And this then brings us into stage 2. Take a look at the swing I showed you before again, and the second part of this, as soon as Rory gets himself set into this part here, What is the next movement that we see from this side, the trail side of the body? It's almost like we've added this pressure, then we're unwinding or winding up, if you like to call it, up to the top of the golf swing. Now watch what happens here. If I just do this using my hands, I'm just going to press and then I'm going to unwind into the backswing. What does that allow my upper body to do here? It allows my upper body, if I was just to have the ball position in the middle of the stance, for example, I add the pressure and I start to turn, it allows me to actually stay pretty much over the golf ball, ever so slightly maybe behind, but that is absolutely fine. That's normal. We see a lot of the tour players do that and a lot of really good players out there do that as well. So just adding this pressure, and all I'm doing just to ensure I'm winding upwards to the top of the golf swing properly is I'm just ensuring that my trail hand moves towards my right hip as my lead hand moves down towards my left knee. So what we notice here is this action here taking place, as well as this pressure, and then twist of the hip. So we can see here I'm allowing my right hip, my trail hip, as I get this pressure to rotate round and behind me, behind myself here, as opposed to continuing this swaying motion. So rather than swaying, we're just ensuring we're adding this pressure into the trail side and we're pushing and turning upwards into the backswing. Now, as we're applying force into the ground and pushing upwards, we're actually generating this power by loading it all the way into the top of the golf swing. So stand up with me and try that now. Set up to the golf ball, add the pressure, and then wind up to the top of the golf swing. What you should be able to feel is a lot of the pressure staying in this trail side, but you're feeling a lot of movement, a bit more tension in the core area and your legs. And this is normal, just because we're practicing this very slow. Once we start to apply this into more all-in-one motion swings, you're going to find it much easier to do. But it's really important that we start off slow, just to make sure we get the movement right. So there's step number one, getting the pressure. Step number two, winding upwards. What is step number three? And it involves the driver itself. So when we take the driver back and practice those two movements, it's very easy for golfers to get into the poor habit of trying these two movements and picking up the golf club very quickly like this here. So what we notice, I see this a lot when I coach, is that we pick up the golf club too quickly, and that affects not only how far we are able to hit these drives, but it also affects the actual swing arc itself. So if I was just to get a circle, get my editor to place a circle going round with the bottom of the circle where the driver is here, and I just make my way up and down, the key for driver, like any golf swing, we want to keep it nice and wide. If the driver in particular, because it's such a long club, if we allow this picky up emotion to take place, we're reducing the swing circle. So it's going to be even harder to generate this speed effortlessly, generate this power, because then we're having to react and use our arms for this movement to take place. The key is using the body, just like we've seen from step one and step two. So step three is just ensuring, having a look at Rory here as well, he pushes his driver, he brushes his driver along the ground and pushes it very far away from him. So the three steps are one, adding the pressure, and then we start to rotate and push the driver head away. So as you're doing this, it's almost going to feel like your body and arms are going to move ever so slightly in opposite directions. So when I say opposite directions, the body is going to be moving on this more sort of lateral and tilting motion, so rotating round, as opposed to the arms and the club working more out and up. So as I do that again, I'm going to practice that again just to show you what this looks like. So I'm going to press, I'm going to twist and push my arms away. As I'm pushing my arms away, it feels like to me I'm just getting my hands to try and touch the camera from this side on view here. So I'm creating a mass amount of width into the backswing here, just to ensure that as I make my way back down, I'm coming down on a nice shallowed out plane, which is what we want for driver to get that higher launch and more distance. So I'm going to hit a shot for you now just to show you how this should look, and I'll get my editor just to place a slow-mo video straight after I hit this shot onto the screen, just so we can see how the steps are formed. So we see this pressure shift, twist and push away. Let's see what I can do. So that was a really good hit. Come on, sit down. I've hit that one pretty well. Okay, it's just rolled into the semi-rough. I'll take that though on my first tee shot. Not really warmed up that much, I'll be honest with you. Carry of 317, total of 337, club head speed of around a 120, which is where I'm roughly at when I start to warm up. So when we take a look at that video again, what we notice here is that pressure shift. Just to begin with, just adding that pressure into the trail side, not coming from my upper body just yet, it's coming from my lower, just to add the pressure. Then I'm winding up to the top of the swing, allowing this trail hip to rotate round as I'm pushing my arms away, up to the very top of the golf swing. How can we then form this into the downswing? So you can go and practice that movement, and straight away you'll start to feel more power in your golf swing and be able to hit the driver much further. But how can we ensure that we're getting a little bit more accuracy, but also not limiting our distance potential? What can we do in our downswing that's going to help us generate possibly even more speed, even more power effortlessly? Well, during the downswing phase, what we'll notice golfers do, they'll get to the top of the swing, obviously from this almost dodgy position here, and they'll begin to lean back like this because they are trying to hit up on the golf ball. That is probably one of the worst things you can do. When you try and hit up on the golf ball, think of that swing circle that we had before. I'm going to place the tee just here so you can see this. So lowest point is going to be around here. I'm just going to grip the driver down so I don't hit anything around me. I'm just going to make my way up to the top of the swing. And as I make my way down and push this way and lean away, that's moving my swing circle further away from the golf ball. It's moving it further behind the golf ball. So as I do this action here, I'm actually more likely to either top the golf ball or probably leave the club face way open. Adding the speed is what's going to allow you to get that launch and higher flights. So what I want you to do is simply add this movement that you've done to start the golf swing and start to add that into the downswing. So very simple move. All I'm going to get you to do is swing up to the top, pressure, twist this left hip round and push the arms away. Just practicing this all in one motion. Pressure, push away, pressure, push away. Same again. Pressure, push away, pressure, push away. Okay, let's go a little bit quicker. Pressure, push away, pressure, push away. So the power is coming from that initial movement from the lower body. The pressure in the backswing to form this load into the top of the swing. So then get the pressure down into the ground to then push upwards on the way through. So let's see if I can hit this drive further and straighter on this hole here, Muirfield Village, second hole, pressure's on. A little bit heely, I'm not going to lie, so it might not go as far as it should. It's rolling out. It's gone a little bit further, so I'll take that extra distance from an ever so slight heel strike, totaling out at 342, but we can see that the club head speed was nearly 3 miles an hour quicker. Now to put that into perspective, assuming a centre strike for every 1 miles an hour is equivalent to almost 3 yards. So you're probably going to hit the driver 9 yards further if you swing 3 miles an hour quicker, which is something, isn't it? Well, doing this movement, you could get a lot more speed than 3 miles an hour. You could get 5, possibly 10, if you really practice this and hone in on these movements. And that's going to be equivalent to 20 to 30 yards further, just from practicing that there. Very simple, very easy to do. So recommend giving that a try and commenting down below to let me know what your thoughts are on this movement. Don't forget, if you are wanting to check out Satori Golf, the link will be in the description below. And if you are looking for more tips on the driver to help you with distance and also accuracy, I've got a fantastic one up here that talks to you about a similar concept to this one I've just explained. And the one on the bottom is all to do with making sure that we hit the driver out the centre of the club face more often. Feel free to check those out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you over in one of those.